All right, you guys, as you can see by the thumbnail, this is going to be something a little bit different. So check it out. Instead of responding to a lot of your comments and a lot of the questions that you guys have asked me about this situation right here, I figured it would just be a lot easier just to drop a video on it and address it. So that's what I'm doing. Now, let me make this clear off the top. My channel, what type of content I put on my channel, and the way I conduct myself on my channel has always been my priority and will always be my priority, period. That's what's important. And for the most part, I haven't allowed the drama or the negativity to interfere with that. Now, in the past, I've had my share of conflicts. It comes with the territory. But I've always picked my battles and I've never allowed them to become long-term distractions. I address it and then I move on. And even then, on most of those occasions, it was just me addressing somebody else's gripe or some other type of issue somebody else has had with me. And even then, on most of those occasions, I've just responded to somebody else's gripe or some type of issue that they had. You guys know how I am. I try to stay away from all the riffraff and I don't get caught up in all the YouTube drama because I have zero interest in getting caught up in conflicts. But like I said, sometimes there's certain situations that need to be addressed, and this is starting to look like this is turning into one of those situations. So I'm going to kill it and nip it in the bud. Now, I talked a little bit about this the other night during my live, and I've addressed it before piecemeal in the past. But I'm going to put this to rest for once and for all, since the narratives are now being spun. So I know there's a lot of you that want to see me get in the ring and slug it out with somebody. I'm sure there's those of you that want to see me put hands on somebody. And then I know there's those of you that want to see somebody put hands on me. And that's all good. I'm game to do it with anyone. I'm always down for a good old-fashioned fist fight, inside or outside the ring. It doesn't matter, as that's what I've always done. But make no mistake about it. At the end of the day, this is all a form of entertainment. That's it. That's all. Nothing more, nothing less. So for those of you who are day oneers or those of you that have been watching my channel for the long term, you guys know that the prospect of this whole YouTube boxing hype first originated about 2 years ago, long before the Gunner and Cholo Trucker fight. Gunner, Rojo, Flacco, Mikey, myself, and a few others started talking about it. Later on, Tony from Stories Written by a Current Prisoner got involved in the conversation. And then at one point, even Savage Studios threw his name in the mix. There was a lot of different potential matches that were being floated around. We were trying to match each other up so that we could put on an event. But ultimately, in the end, the Gunner and Cholo Trucker fight was the only match that really gained any real momentum. I was originally supposed to be involved in that event, but I got backdoored by other people who were involved, so it didn't happen. There's no need for me to go into the details. Those who were involved know what I'm talking about. So Gunner and Cholo Trucker, they fight. They put on the first event. Mikey, Rojo, Flacco, and a few others all helped orchestrate that event in some way, shape, or form. Because I wasn't involved in that first event, my thinking is, you know what, I'll just put on my own event when they're done running that one. And that's what I did. So at that time, I had mentioned to Flacco and Mikey that, I was starting to put an event of my own together, and both of them expressed some interest in helping me put it together. So they got on board, they started helping me put it together, and they were involved. Even though I wasn't involved in the Cholo Trucker Gunner event, I paid close attention. So even though I wasn't involved in that first event, I took notes. I seen how they put it together, and I started putting everything in motion. I came out of pocket, dropped a few bands on a gym that ran it by the day. I paid a camera crew that was associated with Mikey. And then later, Rojo got on board with the pay-per-view stuff since he already had an account from the Cholo Trucker Gunner fight. So we started putting everything in motion, even though at that point, I didn't even have an opponent lined up yet. I knew, or at least I thought, there would be plenty of prospects, but this didn't go like I thought it would. As you guys know, at one point we had Little Toro involved, but then that ended up falling apart, and you guys know why. And then Savage Studios threw his name in the mix, and then that ended up falling apart because he started acting like Tony. He thought he was going to assert some kind of control over the fight, when, where, how it was going to go down, and then it just ended up falling apart. And in the end, he actually thought we were going to set him up. So that whole idea fell apart. All those old videos are still on my channel. So for those of you that even care to look, you can still dial back on those videos and pull them up. At that point, it started to look like I was going to have a problem finding somebody to fight. I mean, don't get me wrong. There were a lot of prospects that were throwing their name in the mix, but these were viewers. And, those of us that were putting this event together, we wanted it to be another content creator, somebody that you guys knew and somebody we thought that you guys might want to see me get in there with, preferably somebody from YouTube. So if you guys remember, this is when I called Rojo out. And it wasn't because me and Rojo had any beef or nothing like that. I've been knowing Rojo since he was a little flat-chested kid. I called him out because I thought he would be a good opponent. And I knew he was somebody who you guys probably wanted to see me fight. So Rojo, he ends up accepting the call out. And at that time, I'm thinking, you know what? We finally got this part of it wrapped up, so we're good to go. And for those of you that, are just tapping in, I'm putting all this in perspective, like I said, because there's narratives that are being spun, and I want to put all this in perspective so you guys know how this boxing hype all started, what's happened over the course of time, who was involved, and everything that has happened up until where we're at right now. Are you guys following me? So we start to promote the fight. Me, Rojo, Mikey, Flacco, a few others, and we start running our roundtables. And we start running our training camps. And, I'm thinking that this is going to happen. So I don't remember how long it was after he accepted the fight, but not long after that, he comes down with some kind of tuberculosis or something, some kind of stomach infection where he can't take the fight. He said medically the doctors advised against it, so he pulls out. Meanwhile, I start hearing whispers that Gunner's trying to promote another fight, that there's talks about him and Tony possibly trying to put another fight together. And, the date's not clear, none of that. I hear it through somebody, and immediately I call Gunner. So I get Gunner on the phone, and he assures me that their fight isn't going to happen until months down the line and long after my fight has already happened. And again, all this stuff happened a while back, so I'm not sure about the time frames or none of that, but I remember something ended up happening between them two. They were hyping up their fight, and one of them ended up pulling out. Who it was, I don't know. So not long after that, keep in mind, this happened a ways back, so I'm not sure about the time frame. But these guys are promoting their fight, Tony and Gunner, and then something happens between them two, and one of them pulls out. Probably because Tony started pulling the same shit that he's trying to pull now. But I don't know which one it was. One of them pulled out. Who it was, it doesn't matter. I don't even care. It's not important. So now this is when this clown Tony decides to call me out, since his fight with Gunner fell apart and since he knew I was looking for an opponent. This guy comes in high-strung, talking a good one, yada, 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 yada. Nobody even took this guy serious with his Halloween mask on, but he starts woofing about how tough he is. So he calls me out, and he starts foaming at the mouth about how he wants to get in the ring with me, how he's going to put me in my place, and all this other high-powered hype. I don't think I'd ever even had talked to Tony at that point. I can't remember, but I knew who he was, and like I said, nobody took him serious. Nobody did. I just knew that he was the tough guy hiding behind the Halloween mask and that he had a channel on YouTube. But it didn't matter. Whether I liked dude or not, none of that mattered. He called me out and I accepted the call out. But then here's where everything goes bad. Tony starts running his mouth and he thinks he's going to assert some type of control over the fight by barking all these conditions about how the fight's going to go down, when it's going to go down, how much time I got to get ready. He's ready now, yada, yada, yada. The same antics that he's starting up with right now. Don't get it twisted. I wasn't about to let some lame with a mask on dictate shit. And that's why everything ended up going left. And he knows this. We ended up having words and it got so bad that it became bigger than YouTube. This dude started blowing my phone up like some crazy Fatal Attraction type of X. So it just ended up getting to the point where I wasn't trying to hear shit he had to say because he was just running his mouth. Things ended up getting so testy, we couldn't even talk on the phone. That's how bad it got. I don't know who the fuck he thinks he is, but he kept calling me, telling me, we're going to fight on this date. You got this much time to be ready. We're going to do it here. We're going to do it this way. We're going to do it that way. He's a comedian. So that's why everything fell apart. But Tony now attributes this to me being scared and me avoiding him. Come on, man. I don't think anybody believes this but Tony. Go ahead, Tony, run with it. And if anybody else does believe this besides Tony, it's only because you're a hater for one reason or another. Come on, man, look at the dude, for real. But again, that's Tony's story, so he can run with it. He can say whatever he wants to say. But that's what happened the first time we talked about getting in the ring with each other. That's what happened, and that's why everything fell apart. And I'm going to tell you guys like this. Behind the scenes, nobody wanted to fucking deal with Tony. Nobody wanted to deal with him because of his antics and the little games he plays. Let's keep everything above board since he wants to chirp about it, since he wants to cut videos about it. But here's someone that calls himself a real man. Here's someone that calls himself a soldado, a Mexica warrior who deserves all this respect. But yet, he's not even willing to show his face on YouTube because he's scared of the repercussions and the consequences of what he exposes on his channel. That's not the way of a Mexica warrior, my boy. You got some nerve telling Conejo that you were disappointed in him for not answering the bell because that's not what warriors do. You gotta be kidding me. You need to give up the channel and get you a clown job. I mean, am I the only one that sees this? If I'm wrong, you guys tell me I'm wrong. But yet he'll continue to expose the guys who have gotten caught up in the political strife of prison politics. Guys who either fell victim to the same criminal organizations that I talk about all the time, or those who have walked away from these organizations for whatever reasons they have. To him, this is all just some sort of game. He talks about prison politics. He talks bad about guys that have defected. But then yet, when you see him on his channel with the same guys that are calling from S and Y yards, he interacts with them by showing them the utmost level of respect. Why? Because that's how he gets his bag at the end of every month. You know, it's comical. A viewer sent me a screenshot of a comment that one of the viewers made, and Tony responded to that comment. And Tony responded by calling me a wannabe gang member that folded on my crew. A wannabe. You know, people can say whatever they want to say about me. People know my past. They know what I've done. I've been transparent about it. But the one thing that you cannot call me is a wannabe gang member. So he true first blood. You know what it is? It bothers him that there's some viewers out there that are intelligent enough to see past all the smoke screens and the masquerades. But yet he used this to take a shot at me. And this is outside the parameters of this fight. He's talking about some political shit. And this is what we're not going to do. If I'm going to be involved in this event, we're not going to do that. You can sell the fight, but I'm not getting involved with this clown so that he can open up this door and bring in all this negativity. We're not going to do that. But the truth in the matter is that Tony, he wouldn't have lasted 5 minutes in the world that I used to live in. Here's some lop that's been trying to thrust himself into that whole political arena that some of us have really been involved in by speaking on things he knows nothing about. The bottom line is this. He can't accept this fight without all the JCat antics and without trying to act like he's some reputable individual that deserves all this respect. We don't even know who this clown is. Take the mask off. He's a drama queen that has no merits of his own to stand on, good or bad. But don't take my word for it. Don't take my word for it. Ask some of the other people that have been involved in these events. Ask them what they think about Tony. Ask any of them if they've ever took Tony serious. Of course, when putting these events together, people are going to work with them and they're going to tolerate it. But just ask them what they think about him. But I'll get back to that in a minute. Let me finish putting this in perspective first. So at some point when me, Mikey, Flacco, and Rojo were still trying to line up my event, Gunner ends up calling me and he tells me that he's got something lined up with cops and firefighters. Every year they have an organization where they get in the ring with each other, but they were willing to flip that event and turn it into a cops versus cons event. And he said the venue was already taken care of. The security was taken care of. All we had to do was show up. They even had opponents for us. He said they had a special opponent lined up for me and that we wouldn't have to cover none of the overhead. I remember thinking at that time that they were probably going to try to find the biggest cop or the biggest firefighter to ring my bell. But I was still game. Because again, people, it's all entertainment. It's for you guys. But Gunner made it sound like this was in the bag. This was already established. They were in negotiations and it was a for sure thing. I told Gunner, make sure, bro, because if I get my refunds back from the gym, from Mikey's camera crew, and some of the other people that were already involved at that point, it's going to sabotage my event. And I'm going to have to start all over. And I'm not trying to do all that. But he assures me, nah, B, this is locked in. We got this. This is a for sure thing. So I end up making the mistake of putting my faith in somebody else, a mistake that I've made over and over and over and have continued to get burned. But I get my refunds back and I get on board with this anyway. Needless to say, time starts to pass and nobody's saying nothing. It's crickets. Nobody's calling. Nobody's saying nothing. I ended up having to reach out and call Gunner myself. What's going on, bro? What's up with the event? If I'm going to be involved in this event, I want to talk to somebody. I want to know what's involved. But Gunner tells me he's waiting to hear back from someone and, he'll reach out to him. Then like a week later, he tells me, hey, bro, I don't know what's going on, but they ghosted him. So that event fell apart. So here I am now back at the drawing board. I got nothing lined up. I got no gym rented now. I got no camera crew. All the things that I had established for my event, all that had fell wayside. And now I would basically have to start over. That's if I even have an interest in continuing to pursue this whole boxing thing. Honestly, after getting stood up several times, I had pretty much given up on it. And it just looked like it was just a big waste of time. But then here we go again. A couple months ago, Mikey reaches out to me and he tells me, hey, bro, the journalist is talking about lining up another fight with you. And he wants to know if you're interested. I tell Mikey, bro, I'm over the whole boxing thing. I lost money I invested in every fight that I thought was going to happen ended up being sabotaged or somebody pulled out. In Tony's world, again, he attributes this to me being scared and avoiding him. This guy, this is nothing more than self-flattery. I just don't know what he's flattered about. I just don't get it. Why or what makes Tony think that anybody scared of him is just beyond me. I don't know. Maybe he thinks it's the mask. I don't know what it is, but just trust me. Out of all the places some of us have been, out of all the characters that we have been around behind the walls, Tony's a non-factor. But for the sake of telling you guys how all this came together, let me finish telling you guys how we got to where we are now. So about a month or two ago, long after the Conejo and Tony fight was already announced, Mikey reaches out to me again out of nowhere and tells me, hey, Box, the journalist is talking about lining up another fight again. The journalist. I didn't reach out to anyone. That wasn't me reaching out. I'm not even thinking about this boxing shit no more. But yet I heard Mikey out. I thought about it and I ended up telling Mikey I was over that whole boxing thing and that after dealing with that dude, I had no interest in fucking with him again. Period. Taking the fight wasn't the issue. The issue was opening up the door to someone who brings a lot of drama with them. That was the issue. But Mikey, being the businessman that he is, he tells me, hey, Box, just think about it. And if you want to line it up, if you want to run it, I'll set everything up for you. A few weeks later, this is when I start to hear this clown starting to call me out again. I'm getting video clips sent to me by some of the viewers where Tony's talking about Paradigm Media News is somebody that I've been thinking about for a long time, somebody I want to get in the ring with, yada, 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 yada. So here comes Mikey again, and he makes another proposition. He tells me, Box, all you got to do is show up. The venue's covered, everything's covered. I got the overhead. And this, of course, would all be contingent on Tony winning the fight with Conejo. Finally, I just say, fuck it. Line it up. I'm tired of hearing about this dude. If he wins that fight with Conejo, I'm just going to go ahead and get this dude out the way. Because honestly, at that point, this dude was really starting to annoy me. For someone I have absolutely zero interaction with, I sure seem to occupy a lot of space in his mind, rent-free. Man, I don't know if I should be flattered or weirded out. But the rest is history. Mikey tells me if he wins, the fight's going to be scheduled for late fall. Are you good with that? I tell Mikey, that's cool. That'll give me enough time to do what I got to do. Besides that, I got other engagements lined up that I'm already committed to, so that's perfect. So Mikey tells me, look, this is how we're going to do it. If he beats Conejo, I'm going to call you on the day that they fight while the winner's being announced. And I'm going to have you on the phone and you can officially accept his call out. Nobody was supposed to know about this but me and Mikey. And as far as I know, we were the only two that knew about it. So that's what happened. Mikey calls me while they're reading the decision, and I accept the fight. Those of you that paid to watch the fight, I'm sure you heard me when Mikey had me on the phone. So a few days later, Mikey texts me the exact date that it was going to happen in late fall. He tells me that he's going to text the other side and make sure that he's good with that date, which he did. I have the text on my phone, but I'm not one that's into throwing up text messages and showing receipts and all that. Ask Mikey, he'll tell you. So we both agreed to the date, and from that point on, as far as I was concerned, I was done with it. I'll see this dude in late fall, and I'm going to beat the brakes off him. But then here goes the masked clown, Tony, with his antics again, trying to change the rules and the terms that were already agreed to. And again, this is the reason why the fight fell apart the first time, because he doesn't know how to keep his mouth shut, and he can't accept the fact that he's not in a position to dictate how, when, or where this fight is going to be held. That's Mikey's job. This guy lost his mind. He wins the fight with Conejo by default. And now he's running around with this little green belt like he's some modern day Rocky Balboa, calling himself the heavyweight champ. Bro, I'm embarrassed for you. You've probably had 2 fights in your whole life, and one of them was on YouTube. So cut it out, champ. Again, come on back down to reality, Tony. It's entertainment. It's not for real. I've been hearing that he's been spotted all over Southern California with that green belt draped over his arm. At Walmart, at the swap meet in Santa Fe Springs, at the Mountain Grove Mall in Redlands, and as you guys seen in the video, at the damn beach. Again, bro, I'm embarrassed for you. But this is where I'm at with this whole boxing thing. He can continue making these lame videos and spinning these narratives about how everybody's been dodging him and how I personally haven't been wanting to smoke if he wants to. Carry on. You're only making yourself look like the big dummy who's trying to make a name for himself off of other people's names. You said you'd handle me with ease, and then you even took shots at Jay Hands by saying that you'd make easy work out of him. Have you guys noticed that he's only calling out guys who have done time behind the walls, guys that have been to prison? That's because Tony somehow thinks in his mind that if he wins a fight in these little boxing events, that this somehow translates into a lot of respect for him. Again, Tony, it's entertainment, my boy. You're the only one who's taking this serious because you're the only one who has something to prove. And what smoke are you talking about? Bro, I seen your fight. You've been exposed. My boy, you can't beat yourself out of a wet paper bag if your life depended on it. There is no smoke, Tony. There is no smoke. You can't fight and you look like you got 2 left feet. They should have played the original tape where you fell trying to get in the ring. You guys didn't get to see that one. This guy's never wore a pair of boxing shoes before in his life. The first time he tried to get in the ring, he fell. He fell on his face. But on the reels, bro, it's nothing to get excited about. No, I'll give you credit for pulling up, for showing up to the fight, and for entertaining the people. It was entertaining to say the least. But if nobody's told you, it was ugly, my boy. I can promise you one thing for sure. Unless that was a fake fight and you got something that you haven't shown yet, you fight me like that, bro, you're going to get your ass knocked out. If you don't believe nothing else I say, Tony, believe that. Shouts out to Conejo for taking the fight, especially considering the health issues that he's experiencing. But I'm a different animal. You can go ahead and keep thinking that you're going to run through me with these. But bro, after that last fight, I don't even know how you can fix your mouth to say something like that. Come on back down to reality, champ. Man, listen, the bottom line is this. I accepted your call out because I'm tired of hearing your mouth and because I'm going to do what somebody else should have done to you a long time ago. But let's get one thing straight, Tony. You're not calling no shots and you're not dictating nothing here. Mikey set the terms and the parameters of this fight, and that's how it's going to stay, period. It's not even open for discussion. And let me tell you something else since you obviously don't know. You're lucky I'm even willing to get in the ring with you and accept a fight with your goofy ass, because nobody gives 2 chits about seeing you fight, especially after that last debacle. Bro, you can't even sell a fight. Haven't you figured out why half the viewers didn't even know how that fight ended or why they didn't know any of the details? Because nobody ordered it. You didn't get this big influx of orders like you thought you would. The numbers were considerably low considering what they should have been or what they could have been. This is what you didn't understand the first time we started talking about fighting. You seem to think that because you almost got 100,000 subs, that this was gonna draw big numbers for you because you got a big channel. Yeah, congrats on your channel, bro. You got 100,000 subs and you got people tapping in. But people don't sub to your channel because of you, Tony. It's the guys that are in prison that draws them to your channel. I know the truth hurts, but those are the facts. Again, you're just some goofy ass dude wearing a Halloween mask that's trying to make a name for himself off of other people's names and reputations. That's what you do. And that hurts you. It hurts you to see how people think about you in the comments. I've seen you respond to some of those comments. You guys got no faith or respect in your boy, but I'm going to show you. So bro, take a chill pill. Take a chill pill, Tony. If you really want this fight like you say you do, stop rocking the boat and stop it with all your lame antics. Because again, at the end of the day, this is all for entertainment. I'm not consumed with this boxing event. You are. And I'm not about to get into all the drama or engage in the back and forth trash talking. I'm not talking about selling the fight. Do what you do. Make as many videos as you want. But I ain't going to involve myself with someone who makes a mockery out of my past shortcomings or the things that I had to go through in my past. And I say this because all that is now starting to be part of his little monologue in his clown videos. My dirt's been out there, Tony. Everybody knows what I did. Everybody knows what I went through in the past because I'm transparent. But I'm not going to fuck with somebody that starts taking those kind of shots or speaking about things that they know nothing about. That's not part of this boxing event, and it's not going to be a part of it. We went down that rabbit hole once before, and it didn't get us nowhere, nor did it benefit our channels. And you know what I'm talking about. So again, if you really want to get in that ring with me, I'll see you in late fall when this was agreed to. And when Mikey drafts up those contracts, I'm going to tell him that I want it stipulated that the winner takes the bigger bag and that the numbers increase for a KO and a TKO. Something you obviously know nothing about. And I'm going to make sure you sign that liability waiver because I have no interest in paying your medical bills. But none of that should be an issue since you really think you have a chance of winning. As far as putting out these kinds of videos with the personal attacks, this is it for me. I'm not going to get drawn into that. I really had no interest in putting this video out, but I'm not just going to let you spin false narratives without at least setting the record straight. So I'm done. I'll participate in selling the fight and however Mikey wants to run it, but only with the understanding that it doesn't turn into a circus act or all the disrespectful name calling. I'm not going to partake in that. You profess to be a real one, a Mashika warrior, then act like one. Save all the slick talk for the fight. So that's where I stand on all this. The date's been set, the date we both agreed to. So unless this is just your way of trying to pull out, get back in line and stop all your chirping. On that note there, to all the viewers, I appreciate all the comments and I appreciate those of you that are intelligent enough to see past all the gimmicks and all the fuckery. I spoke my piece and now I'm done with it. Some of you probably don't even care about this boxing stuff. So rest assured, I'm going to get back to doing what I do. This is going to be it. I'm not going to allow this to turn into a long-term distraction. I'm going to get back to putting out content and finishing the stories that I told you guys I was working on. With that said, this is your boy B, and I'm out.